Well, we do have an update on MLB expansion and possibly another city putting their hat into the ring. We had speculated when it comes to the eastern side of the United States, the top two options were Nashville and possibly Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, there's another city in North Carolina that's making some news here recently. I appreciate the person on Twitter or X who pointed this out to me, and you can see I looked it up. This coming from last week, October 3rd, the quiet effort to bring MLB to Raleigh, North Carolina. So not Charlotte. I'm sure, there's a potential pitch for Charlotte as well, but this is the pitch for Raleigh. Unfortunately, there are no true ballpark proposals in terms of renderings. Honestly, that's really disappointing. I would have loved to have seen those. You can take it, see it says right there, bring MLB to Raleigh. They've got their own logos. I'll show the logo right now. It looks really similar to the Rice logo. I mean, you could say, oh, well, they're copying them. I think that's a good logo. I like the font of it personally for an MLB team. And then they list different areas the stadium could be within the city of Raleigh. You can see downtown South. It looks like they've taken a carbon copy of Kauffman Stadium and kind of got that in the background. Obviously, we don't expect them to build a replica Kauffman Stadium. That's just a filler. The PNC district right there, possibly right by PNC Arena, which I'll talk about, the Carolina Hurricanes NHL facility. They're getting around a $300 million renovation on that. And then the old Cargill Mill, possibly another location there within Raleigh. And then you can see their pitch population in line with established markets. You've got Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Raleigh, Cleveland, and Milwaukee. So they're saying we're right in the middle. That seems like, more towards the bottom, honestly, with those other cities. Some of those teams have had severe attendance problems, like Cleveland and also Kansas City. Although Kansas City, part of it's the team's just horrible. Also, Pittsburgh has had attendance issues as well. I don't know if that's a great pitch. And then projected growth of markets over the next 15 years. So you can see they're saying Raleigh is going to break out from these other cities, and they're going to have such a substantial growth, especially with young people, that Raleigh could be a destination for MLB expansion, even over Charlotte. And Charlotte might have its own issues with a potential NFL stadium renovation to Bank of America Stadium, or a total rebuild that might cost $1.2 billion, and they might try and make that partially publicly funded. That would be a kind of a monkey wrench into the idea of MLB baseball coming to Charlotte if they're already trying to get a new NFL stadium, although the exact same thing is happening with Nashville, Tennessee, just on steroids, with Nashville getting that $2.2 billion stadium and still possibly getting an MLB team. It's not confirmed that Nashville is getting one, but we would put them, I would say, the number one option in terms of if MLB wants one team on the eastern side of the United States in terms of expansion and one team on the western side. That tends to be how it works. If they did do two eastern, teams, you could do both Nashville and Raleigh, but that would be kind of repetitive, or you could do Nashville and Charlotte. But either way, those are just some stats there. And then you can see this is a media market that is primed. Did they misspell market? Oh no, that's just the font of it. It's a weird font. It looks like an H. That's really a K. A media market primed for MLB baseball, and they're ranked 23rd right there, in front of St. Louis, in front of Pittsburgh, in front of Baltimore, in front of San Diego, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Milwaukee. I'm sure that Oakland is like, if you want to talk about media market, why are we moving, right? There's a lot of factors that go into it, of course, but those are just some numbers there. And then getting to the article, a group of consultants and state officials have been working behind the scenes for about 6 months on a pitch to bring an MLB team to the Raleigh market. According to a source with knowledge of the work, the group has highlighted the state's standing as best for business and low corporate tax rate, which will shrink to 0% by 2030. And it's emphasized Raleigh's strong market viability, pointing to its ranking as number 2 on the NHL for attendance. That's impressive. Is it number 2? And, well, so there's a few different things when it comes to NHL attendance. If you guys are familiar with NBA attendance, NHL is virtually the same thing. All of the arenas have like the exact same capacity, and it's like around 21,000. The bigger arenas are going to have an advantage in terms of being able. A lot of the teams sell out every game because the arenas are so small. in comparison to MLB, where you're talking about capacities into the 40Ks and things like that. Same thing. I mean, NFL is completely different because it's scarce. There's only, 8 or 9 home games. But that is impressive. Number 2 in terms of attendance for the Hurricanes and the second fastest growing metro in the country. It's been 25 years since MLB last expanded, yes, and we're expecting that to change here relatively soon. It's not surprising that it's taken this long considering we've already got a lot of teams, but it does seem like now is the time for expansion. And you can see Rob Manfred interested in expanding the league after the other 2 stadium situations get more stable. And we've heard news on both of those situations, so I would expect the A's thing's going to be annoying for a while because of the Coliseum lease situation, but at least when we get the new renderings on the stadium right around Thanksgiving, and the vote comes out right before winter meetings or maybe during the winter meetings, that situation, it's going to be happening. We'll have it confirmed. We'll have the new renderings. We'll be able to show those and use those, and that is going to be a big thing in terms of stadium news that comes out. It's been kind of a lull here in terms of that, but at least we've got that to look forward to around Thanksgiving, around the holiday season. But just getting back to this, and then you also have the Rays situation. Maybe I'll do a video on the Rays because they said that they were talking to the public this week about their thoughts on paying for half of the new stadium, around $600 million. The Rays would pay $700 million. It's a total cost of $1.3 billion. So the Rays situation I don't think is over yet. Very strange. I covered it at length. They announced their new ballpark, and I'm not going to go over it, guys. I don't want to bore people by doing that again, but just getting back to the Raleigh situation, do they really have a chance? Possibly they can use the whole thing like, oh, look at our NHL attendance. I'll be honest, that is very impressive, especially when you're looking at Las Vegas and you're seeing the NBA head over heels going to Las Vegas and kind of using the whole crutch of, look how great it's worked out in terms of NHL there, where they're selling out every game. That's why that's not why, but that's going to help the NBA in terms of feeling confident about doing an expansion to Las Vegas. And then you can just take a look at the odds. So, yeah, I do think Nashville and Salt Lake City are the 2 favorites. Salt Lake City is going to we're going to have to see a little bit better of a ballpark, folks, when it comes to that. And Nashville has a rendering, the Music City Club, but their rendering is outdated because it's right next to Nissan Stadium, which is not going to be existing in the year 2028, which is probably when expansion would happen. If you figure we get all of this solved in 2025, it gets announced, it takes around 3 years to actually build the ballparks, maybe 2.5 depending on if they have retractable roofs. I would say you could get it done in 2.5 years. So 2025 you break ground, 2028 you open. That's pretty standard. And then at that point, could you imagine we would have 3 new ballparks in MLB with the Athletics' new ballpark in Las Vegas as well. But Nashville, Salt Lake City, you can see, Raleigh's not even on the list. Raleigh would be kind of lumped in with Charlotte. Charlotte's plus 500. We'll have to see what happens with their NFL stadium situation. I would imagine that's the next thing to tackle for Charlotte. It would not be MLB expansion unless there's some crazy rich person that's obsessed with Charlotte, their hometown, and they want to foot a massive bill to fund the entire new stadium privately. That could always happen, but it's very unlikely. And then Portland, Montreal, San Antonio, very long shots. I did a video last week on Montreal. There's some murmurs. It seems like MLB is trying to use Montreal as a bargaining chip for other cities to jump in. I would love to get a rumor of Austin, Texas being interested. I think that'd be very interesting based on how fast they've grown over the last decade plus here, just in terms of their city. That'd be really good for MLB, I think, going to Austin, Texas. You can say, well, there's too many teams in Texas, but these other options, it's just like Nashville and Austin, Texas seems like the absolute home run. Or even Austin, Texas and Salt Lake City. I would love to see MLB baseball in Salt Lake City with a backdrop of mountains because we don't have that. And you're building out an open ballpark. The issue with Austin, Texas is the weather. If you put a team in Raleigh, you can 1,000% do an open ballpark. Put a team in Nashville. Actually, Nashville has a rendering where it's going to be retractable. That would be a shame. Well, you need to do an open ballpark in Nashville. There's less and less open ballparks now, And the problem with Austin, Texas, they would probably try and do some type of retractable roof and it would never be open. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen with MLB playoffs, these teams are just pathetic, man. Like the Houston Astros, the MLB is forcing them to open their roof. I mean, obviously MLB understands baseball's a way better product when it's played outdoors. You have a roof, it's 72 degrees, it's perfect, open it. I don't care if your players want to play inside. That's ridiculous. Open the roof. It's just so stupid. And it's like MLB has to force these teams to open the roof. Like, dude, you paid $300 extra million for it. What are you talking about? Open your roof. Oh, but the noise stays in. Seriously? Like, I just think it's so dumb. Baseball looks so better when it's, outdoors, and MLB understands they want that natural light look on television, and they're basically forcing teams now to open their roof for the playoffs. And, it is unfortunate that Miami didn't get in because I would like to see maybe Lone Depot Park open. But, actually Miami did get in, but they got swept in that 3-game series. Either way, guys, just getting back to this, you can see the PNC Arena, which is like the big arena located in Raleigh, North Carolina. Really, I'm not a fan of this arena. The exterior of it looks like an oversized PNC Bank, but they are giving it a renovation. And looking at the renovation, I mean, I still really don't like it. You know what? Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on it, but yeah, it's just, it's a fine renovation. I don't know. It seems like it costs a lot of money to do that, but around $300 million, they are renovating that. So that's the big one. And then they also had a potential pitch for a soccer stadium that would have been a huge project in downtown Raleigh. That ended up not happening. This was back in 2019. They pitched this, and it does look very cool, kind of surrounded. One of the big things with stadiums, and certainly it is very annoying, when they're surrounded with giant parking lots. Now, I'm not going to turn this into, public transportation or anything like that. I really don't like public transportation. I think people should own a car. It's very powerful to own a car and be able to go wherever you want to go. But in terms of stadiums, I'm wondering if we can create underground parking garages so then the stadiums will look more aesthetically pleasing, because when the stadiums are surrounded by giant parking lots, it does look very ugly. But I'm not someone that's obsessed with public transportation. I think you should own your car, absolutely. But the parking lots do look ugly. I do agree with that. But either way, guys, that was Raleigh's pitch. Maybe they've entered their hat into the ring. They've been silent. We'll see if they release a stadium rendering. If these cities really want to, excite people, you need to show your vision. Show what your future vision would be. People will get behind you. Give us a nice rendering. Give us a nice stadium to look at. But they don't have anything, at least not yet. I would imagine this is all going to heat up. The top players, being the ones I've already mentioned, and then possibly you throw in a wild card like Austin, Texas, maybe another place in Canada outside of Montreal. There's a lot of different options in terms of who would be interested, and possibly when MLB makes their intentions known after these two situations officially get solved, we will have some guidance on some of the new renderings from some of these cities and see who's going to end up winning. I have a feel whoever is the richest person is going to win in terms of the highest amount of private money, because that's what's really going to get this done. If you send out and you say it's all going to be paid for private money, we're building a stadium here, that's going to win pretty much no matter where you put it. It could be Raleigh, it could be Nashville, it could be Salt Lake City. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.